Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Look Behind You, the podcast where we talk about the strange, the unusual, and all things in between. Tonight's topic will be the Winchester Mansion, a place surrounded with numerous ghost stories along with a long history of bizarre architecture. I am Ramen Cat, and tonight with me is Boom,
Hello, everybody.
Wolf,
Hi.
and once more with us, for anyone that listened to our last episode, Kai Kai.
Hello.
Hope everyone's had a good week. It's been long.
It's been short and long. I wish good health and many, many
more moons to live.
yes upon everybody.
Upon your soul.
We survived, guys.
Somehow.
I don't know if I'm surviving. I'm alive. I'm not really there though.
You were a casualty.
I'm a casualty.
Well, our podcast for this episode can't speak words.
You know, that somehow actually works.
Somehow it does. I guess that's the thing for tonight.
If you take every episode and make it its own podcast, it'd work.
Anyways, so tonight we're talking about the Winchester Mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. A kind of a ghost of the West in its own right. It's a very, how would you say,
It's a big place.
yes, but it's a very outlandish place too.
And big.
Very big.
Very
yeah.
big.
Some people would call it the most haunted place in the United States.
I don't know
Yes.
about that.
Well, I mean, it is in the top 10 of the most haunted places in the United States.
Yeah. I mean, with good reason for the story. Yeah, so let's just dive right into it, right into the background of it.
Heck
shall we?
yeah.
The Winchester Mansion, or Winchester Mystery House as it is also called, is a large estate located in San Jose, California, and was once the residence of a Sarah Winchester, who was the widow of the one William Wirt Winchester, and for those who don't know, was the founder of the company of Winchester Repeating Firearms, the Rifle of the West.
I mean, basically the biggest rifle company in America.
Yeah.
I think still to this day is still the biggest.
I don't
rifle
know if it
production.
is anymore, because in the last couple decades, companies have kind of shifted and come and gone.
That's true.
But this was one of those companies that basically brought in the modern firearm in its own right. It paved the way for it.
Well, Winchester, it's like in the name itself, is repeating. Winchester, I believe, was the first company to make the repeating rifle.
Yes, yep, they were. Which actually plays into the ghost legends, actually, of the mansion.
Yep.
Excuse me. I guess in a broad summary of it, the mansion was was commissioned and built by Sarah Winchester, in the fact of she was trying to make a place to hide / make an abode for the lost souls that were the victims of her husband's firearms.
It as far as I know, it was never to house, but it was always to run away from.
Yes.
Yeah, and in the research I heard that was kind of to run away from or trap, but I have also heard before like a place for them to reside.
Well,
Which, I mean,
so the story I heard is, and I don't know how in depth you were founding in your calculation, but she was told
Calculations.
not calculations. Sorry,
yes, I'm
research.
calculating all of this in my head.
I was looking up gun manufacturers. And I just heard math.
I learned is she was told she's cursed to always be chased by the spirits.
The spirits of the people that was killed by Winchester guns.
Yes, all of the victims of the Winchester
And
company.
to appease them, she was supposed to build this mansion to their design. That's why it's supposedly so crazy, is what I've heard.
Kind of. More
Kind of.
like her husband spoke to her every day and told her to the designs to help her stay away from the spirits. That way they could never catch her.
Through
Because she was
multiple
always
different mediums
Yes.
that came to the house. They had a special room in the house just for mediums to talk to her how to design.
Well,
this
it even got
house.
to the point where she wasn't even using mediums. Like she would just go into her seance room and just supposedly hear the voice herself and write
Yeah.
it down in her notebook.
Yeah.
And so her husband was supposed to be telling her all the things that basically trap, but also like hinder the ghost's movement.
Confuse.
Yeah, confuse the ghost.
So basically, in short, honey, I'm dead. You're a Ghostbuster now.
Kind of.
Kind of. Yeah, all the different winding rooms and hallways that lead to nowhere are supposed to confuse the ghost
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah,
haunt her.
and that's one of the things about this place. To me, honestly, it was not the ghost stories that was fascinating, it was the architecture.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So the mansion was a Queen Anne style Victorian place, and its architecture was, there was no, I guess from a civilian or passerby's point of view, there was no plan or design in this. It was just kind of haphazardly built. I mean, somehow it's still holding up to this day.
well, it wasn't even haphazardly
Well,
built.
it's
like-
very labyrinthian
yeah.
in its design.
She had a team. Excuse me. She had a team of professional contractors working 24/7 to constantly be building on the house.
Yes. Actually, yeah, it's in those accounts. They constantly worked on up until about September 5th, 1922, when she died.
Yep.
The day of her death.
However, there is some disputes in that, in the fact that in her biography, it was written repeatedly in spots where she had stated that for several months at a time, she would send people or send her workers away so that she could take a break because she personally overseen everything, which is very tiring being a foreman.
Yep.
True.
So that kind of dismisses that, but yet at the same time, it's like we never really know. I mean, eccentricity.
Yeah.
Right. And there was no expense held back
No.
building that mansion.
Well, that is because she inherited
The company.
$20.5 million, which in today's currency of 2020, so last year's basically equivalent, is $550 million.
Yes.
Mhm.
Per day. Her income was roughly $1,000 per day, which in today's economy would be $27,000 per day.
On top of that, where that came from, when her husband died, because he passed away of tuberculosis,
Yeah.
she inherited 50% partnership in the Winchester
Right.
Firearms Company.
Which is where her
$1,000 a day came
$1,000 a day
$1,000
came
Yeah.
from.
Yep.
So,
So she held back no expense in building this mansion and to the design she
I mean,
did.
honestly, in an era like that, if you had basically the money of an entire nation, and just like, yeah, I'm gonna build a crazy mansion. So pretty much the driving force of all this, like you guys said earlier, was the fact of after the death of her husband. But it was not only from the death of her husband, but her infant daughter had just recently died as well from a disease called marsimus.
yes.
Which apparently is a infantile wasting disease, I believe.
It is. Marsimus is a form of severe malnutrition characterized by energy deficiency. It can occur in anyone with severe malnutrition, but usually occurs in children. Body weight is reduced to less than 62% of the normal body weight for the age.
So yeah, a wasting disease, which is a very horrible way to go.
Yes.
And then on top of that, her husband passed away of tuberculosis, which in the 1800s was very common to die of.
Yep.
1800s, 1900s, not sure which.
I think they started building, or she had that house in like the 1886 or something around there.
Yes,
So that'll be the
yep.
1800s.
Construction began on it in 1886. After the death of her husband, though, Sarah consulted a Boston medium by the name of Adam Coons.
I would trust a man named Coons.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I just
don't
feel
know.
like I would.
That to me sounds like that guy, like, buy this miracle elixir.
That's true. Never mind. I
Yes.
don't trust Coons anymore.
But Adam Coons, who supposedly was channeling Sarah's late husband, and she was told that she should leave her new home in New Haven and go west. Go west, young Sarah. I don't know if anyone's ever heard that term, go west, young man.
Yes.
Okay.
You said go west, young Sarah, and I immediately thought of like Terminator 2.
Go west, Sarah Connor.
Run to the south.
So with this, she built a home for herself and the spirits of those slain by the Winchester rifles. Now, one thing I forgot in my notes to put down was the fact of she did not settle immediately in San Jose. She actually moved around a little bit from place to place until finally settling on that area.
Well, because she didn't know that she was going to be building the mansion.
Yeah, no, at first
she was just trying to hide away from the spirits. So.
Yeah.
So she was moving to place until she found, was a 7-bedroom.
It was an old farmhouse.
Yep.
8.
Which honestly, she had enough money. She could have just like moved her entire life and not had to build the farmhouse.
No. Yeah. Sarah left her home and headed for California. In 1884, she purchased an unfinished farmhouse in the Santa Clara Valley. And there she hired workers and construction began right away on the manor. She, however, did not hire an architect, which is kind of an interesting key point. The fact that this building still stands with no, like, yeah, we need this joist here to keep this from falling in.
Yeah, they have a picture of the front of the mansion.
Mm-hmm.
There's a door that just leads out.
I stared at it for a good 10
yeah,
minutes.
because you're a carpenter. You used to be a carpenter.
Yeah, and it is
Weird.
It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah. The bizarre methods in construction, or kind of the lack of methods, resulted in a mazed complex of dead-end rooms, stairs that went to nowhere. It's like there's staircases in this place that like go up and it's just wall. Mm-hmm. There's windows that overlook other rooms. Like, this seems like a place that came out of Resident Evil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is like the wacky fun house that actually kills you in the horror movie.
Yeah.
So, actually, this place inspired the Haunted Mansion ride in all the Disney parks.
Really?
As well as the movie, and I'm assuming probably inspired most of the cliche, like, evil mansions and, like, old 1950s and 40s movies.
Yeah.
Wasn't
there a movie, for some reason, in my mind of many oddities and facts, I feel like this inspired the movie House of a Thousand Corpses?
I have not watched that.
I haven't either.
It's on my Halloween list.
Don't take that word for granted at all. Anybody that's listening,
very much reminds me, if anyone's ever seen either the 90s remake of it or the original 50s or 60s version of it, House on the Haunted Hill with Vincent Price.
I was thinking of
13 Ghosts.
Probably 13 Ghosts, yes.
Yeah, kind of, because that house was like haphazard and just really weirdly laid out.
Well, yeah.
And it's also just like kind of reminds me of every Three Stooges Haunted Mansion.
Yep.
Or Scooby-Doo. Let's see here. The end result of the construction, while construction was still going on this thing, it ended up to being a 7-story tall mansion.
I actually have the list of everything that the house had. It ended up to being 7 stories, 2 basements, 161 rooms, 2,000 doors, 47 fireplaces, 47 staircases, 6 kitchens, 13 bathrooms.
I would hate to be the insurance guy that has to list all that.
Or the person that has to go through and check everything.
Clean everything.
I don't want to be the guy that washes the 13 toilets.
Actually, fun little fact about that, the 13 bathrooms, out of all of those, only one was a working bathroom.
I don't want to be the poor sucker that goes through all 12 of the toilets before he finds the 13th working one.
Which one is the lucky toilet?
That wasn't
probably
toilets,
the one
that
with
was
the
bathrooms.
Window.
Yeah.
There might have been a bathroom with like 2 toilets in it.
There is a picture of, they have there's a picture on here where it's a entry doorway, so it's full glass. Besides for like the lower like 2 feet, you look into it and there's just a toilet right there.
Yes, there was actually a reason for that. Sarah ended up with a severe chronic arthritis and stuff, and it made it very difficult for her to move. So her caretakers actually had that installed so that they can make sure she didn't just like die on the toilet or was stuck there.
Oh, yeah, the caption says she had it installed for a nurse to check on her. That would suck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would.
Now, as far as the manor, reason why I say we don't get to see it in its grandeur is because in 1906 there was a earthquake, basically just leveled the whole city.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it
That
did.
earthquake actually was felt in some way or form around the entire world. I remember in school where they like were talking about that earthquake, and there were islands in like the Philippines that rose about 2 inches out of the water. It was
Dang.
it was not pretty.
With
The worst part is during the earthquake, she
Yep.
was laying in bed, and she thought that the rumbling was the ghost finally catching up with her. So she was ready to die.
Yeah, she's freaking out. Like, oh no, here they come.
And she has the roof collapse on her.
and she was trapped there for how many days?
I don't know the exact amount of days, but she was trapped there until emergency response could grab her.
It was like 3. It was either 3 days or a week.
And after that, then she had that room completely sealed off until recently they found it.
Yep.
I think in the
Because-
last 2 years they opened it to tourism.
Yep.
Only
Yes.
about a 3/4 of the house can be toured right now, I
Yes.
believe.
And it is down to 4 stories.
Yes.
We
I
lost
thought-
3 stories.
I thought it was down to 2, honestly.
No, it's 4 stories.
That's kind of sad that it's like you had this giant building, like a giant piece of history, really, and it just goes kaput.
That is life, unfortunately.
Yeah. Now, one thing with this, I was a little sad in the fact of doing research for it. While it's considered one of the most haunted places in America, there's not a lot as far as ghost stories per se. Now, like people that went there have had lots of claim to have had lots of accounts, but
Yeah.
a good majority of it people attribute to the fact of the place is so bizarre and unnatural in its design that a lot of it lends to
Yeah.
why it's so creepy there.
Also, some people that she fired that was working there as like an aide or a carpenter would make up these tales just to kind of like
Keep people away.
keep people away or just
I mean, the
tarnish
place is
name.
big enough. I mean, you could just fire someone, like, fine, I'll go away, and then just hide in the manor and live
Yeah.
in it somewhere.
That's true.
Also, it didn't help that she became really secretive later in her life.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she like put up privacy fences and like all that. So it just really lent to the thing of it being so mysterious back then.
I could see that because as the turn of the century came about, also the tourist came about.
Yeah.
Yes.
And tourists
Yes.
are
Yeah.
annoying. Well, they were annoying. They
That
were
was
really
actually-
annoying back then.
That's one of the reasons why she put up like the privacy fences and just like hedges and all that is just because people just come and stare.
Yeah,
at the
and
house.
it's like,
Right.
you're here minding your own business. You just have a crowd of people outside of your house.
Well, the sealed room that she had, she used to use that to hide from tourists that
Mhm.
were touring the house.
Did people just like barge into her house on her? Or
I
something?
doubt it. I bet she probably begrudgingly
Let
allowed
'em in.
tours, but like, I mean, when you basically become the crazy old lady that's also a celebrity because you have a weird house, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might let them do that.
you
just-
attract a certain type of people.
Yeah, it's
True.
kind of like with people that have had supposed UFO encounters. It's like a lot of them really don't want people there.
Yeah.
But they're gonna just keep coming, so you might as
Yeah.
well just let them do their thing and leave.
Yeah.
But there is a fair share of ghost stories and hauntings and stuff around this place. What did you guys find in your thing? I feel like I've been talking a lot.
You were going
Because
through the
you
rundown.
know everything.
I mean, I wrote a small research paper on this.
Better than what I did.
Hey, I just want all the stained glass spider windows.
Yes, that is one thing. In the architecture of this place, there's a few unique things. So Sarah was reported to be very much a believer in mysticism and very superstitious.
Mm-hmm.
And in this particular sect of it that I'm assuming she probably picked up from the mediums that she consulted all the time, she had some windows commissioned that were in the web design.
Yep.
Like the way of a spider web, not internet design. Yes, it was all just binary code. And these windows, like they're stained glass, and it's believed like the web designs through the house have something to do with the fact of she thought that maybe it would catch spirits, kind of like the dream catcher thing.
Yeah.
Of catching nightmares, basically. She also had a very bizarre fascination with the number 13. Now, normally everyone knows that number 13 represents unlucky or bad fortune. But to her, and I guess in certain mysticism beliefs, 13 represents the beginning and the death of a soul. So 13 is actually a number very prevalent throughout the manor. Like it's in windows, it's on stair banisters.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's just one of those little hidden things. It's kind of like the Mountain Dew can currently for Halloween that has the question mark hidden all through it.
The 3.
So yeah, just she had a very strange fascination with that number. I'm not really sure why. I couldn't really find a lot of in-depth stuff. But yeah, I kind of want to go and track down every 13 in the mansion now. I mean, there's 13 bathrooms. Also, a fun little thing on the 13 nowadays, because this place is open for touring.
Somewhat, yes.
I forgot to get the address. I should have put that in there. We could have just totally sponsored the Winchester Mystery House.
The address is 525 South Winchester Boulevard, St. Jose, California. 95128.
Tell them the cast to look behind.
Get us on the Wikipedia.
I want to go now.
Is it Jose or Josh? It's Jose. St. Jose?
Jose.
No, because the J is pronounced as an H.
St.
I believe.
St. Jose?
St. Jose?
San Jose.
San Jose.
San Jose, California. Anyways,
right?
That's how you say Jose?
Yeah. Boom's mind was blown.
I know, it's weird.
Yeah, actually my mom corrected me on that the other day when she was listening to our podcast. She was like, the J is pronounced as an H. I'm like, crap.
What episode was that from?
The last one when we were referencing something from the Southwest.
Lumberjacks?
Yeah.
It's one thing when you get corrected by your parents in like real life. It's another thing when you go to their house to visit them and they start correcting you on stuff that you said in the podcast and you're like, "Yes, Mom." I don't know how I feel about that. I've had my parents do that to me a couple of times and I'm like, oh.
When?
Normally if someone that
it was when we first started.
When someone I know
my sister, our sister started listening.
Yeah.
I forgot she's one of our regular listeners.
Yeah, she is.
Anyways, just to finish off the 13 thing,
13
we'll get sidetracked 13 times.
13.
We have about 12 more times to go.
With
so, how do you guys like
make that 11?
So with Sarah's fascination and the presence of the number 13, now every Friday the 13th, a bell tolls 13 times at 1 p.m.
Which is the 13th hour.
Which is the 13th hour.
1 p.m. or 1 a.m.?
1 p.m.
That's the 13th?
That is the 13th hour.
Oh, yeah.
Time.
Well, if
military time.
Yeah.
Well, it would technically be...
I don't know. I think that's kind of a cool little thing that they do there. I mean, I can't imagine them being able to do it at 1 a.m. That would make everyone around them angry.
Hey, it's a rich house. What are they going to say?
It was.
True.
It still
was.
is. There's a whole organization that runs this house.
Yes.
But I don't think they're as rich as she was.
It's the
This organization is basically the ancestry of the original Winchester
Never
Firearms
mind.
Company.
They're richer.
I don't know if they're richer, but yeah.
So, boom, you said you had some tales of horror and despair for
and
us?
fright.
Well, funny enough, there is literally, as far as I can tell, all the research I've ever done on the house, there is one main ghost story. Technically two.
Mhm.
Technically two. So, right after the sealed room gets uncovered, there's reported of a tour guide basically having everybody in the sealed room, and she's telling the history of it, and she hears a loud sigh outside the door. So she goes out there to basically bring in the straggler, and there's nobody out there. And she hears another loud sigh, and she looks down the hallway, and there's just a ghostly apparition just floating down the hallway. That's it. That's the whole story right there.
Okay. I do remember that one, and the lady said, I think it was a lady, I don't remember, said that they thought that, or they believed that that was actually the spirit of Sarah.
Yes.
As for why she'd be sighing, maybe she's just annoyed with the fact there were tourists and probably what
In her
Could be
sealed room.
annoyed that maybe she accidentally trapped herself there, making a maze for ghosts.
maybe. I feel like it would be more every time you look at a room that you absolutely despise now. Like, it's just like,
There was also in the Ghost Adventures episode where they went into this house. They basically, the famed medium, I'm reading from an article, James van Prague, I believe that is. It's French. It has two A's in it, so I can't pronounce it.
James Von Pra?
I think so.
James Von
Channeled
Pra?
Sarah herself at a seance dinner, and she claimed she was very happy with how many visitors the house is getting. So,
interesting.
and then there's also the ghost story of Clyde.
Yes,
Yay,
the very
Clyde.
popular Clyde.
You want to cover Clyde?
Oh, sure. I was expecting you.
I've
You talked a bunch about Clyde.
I've rambled enough.
You
Yeah,
have the notebook.
I'm also the one with the nasally, like, sinus infection voice. So
We
I don't know how
all
much
are
they want to hear about
nasally.
me.
Somewhat, yeah.
So Clyde is supposedly the old lawn
Caretaker?
caretaker. I was trying to figure out the words for it.
Groundskeeper.
Groundskeeper. And basically he's so dedicated to his duties that you can still see him wandering through the house today, taking care of stuff.
Yeah.
There was
I'm wondering why the lawn keeper's inside.
right, because we have
It's
one
kinda
of
weird.
the legend or one of the sightings seeing him take care of one of the fireplaces.
Yep.
And yeah, you'd think, why is the groundskeeper taking care of a
Well, back then the groundskeeper is also just kind of the handyman.
Yeah.
I
Which
That
is
is
kind of
true.
weird that the house had a handyman when they had a whole team of contractors.
Well,
but
they
once-
were building.
Yeah,
They
one-
weren't repairing.
once
Like
things
just
were-
random things.
I feel like with how long this house took to build, though, they'd also have to repair at the same time.
They
Actually-
just tear
Yeah.
I
down
don't
and
know.
rebuild different things.
with
they were building for like over 30 years.
Yep.
yeah. With Clyde too, he has been reported in the. I mistook this and I thought this was something different. There's a hallway called the Hall of Flames,
Yes.
which is just nothing but a hallway of fireplaces. It's like, how cool of a name can you get? But that's usually like the place he's reported, or there's a ballroom.
Yes. There was a ghost story of a contractor actually working in the Hall of Fire,
Mhm.
repairing a lot of these places, and he was up on a ladder and he was doing stuff, right? And he felt like a large like a kind of like a pull or like a push, right? Kind of like trying to get him off the ladder. He looked around, he couldn't find anything, so he kept on working. And eventually something pulled or pushed him so hard that it almost knocked him off the ladder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after that, once he got off the ladder, like he just kind of like felt like this like constant like pressing against his back, and basically that just made him leave.
Oh,
like,
really?
Something was like bugging him so much where he couldn't even do his work.
Clyde's probably like, you're doing my job.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I feel like the way you were leading with that, I thought for a minute it was going to be like the ghost hands him something.
Well, there's an apparition with black hair who is frequently spotted pushing a wheelbarrow.
Yes. Yeah, in the basement area. And with both these, I believe these are both supposed to be Clyde, but it's been so prevalent that people will go and like tell the staff, "Hey, we really liked your actor down there." And like, what?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, exactly.
I just started here. I didn't know we had an actor.
Yeah.
So I guess when I say there's two main ghost stories, it's kind of summed up to being like Clyde and like maybe like one other like housekeeper type of thing that's mainly seen.
I have heard some of the more, I guess, cliche things, like people have reported extreme cold spots there, or just like tugging on their shirts, or like you said, like being bumped or something. Also, the windows, the internal windows, people have reported many times, like when they take pictures, there's like shadowy apparitions, like there's something there watching them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird that it's the internal windows that do that.
I think it's about time for the break, though.
Ad time.
Yes, sir. See you all on the other side.
See you in about 5 seconds. And we're back.
Wolf, I told you to stay out of the 12th bathroom.
Welcome, one and all,
I
ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, and everything in between.
What's in between the boys and girls? Is there an eldritch demon we need to be worried about?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking this literally.
Cthulhu
There's a boy and a
attended
girl
in the
sitting next to
audience.
each other, and there's something in between them.
There's Shara Gothica.
Sharar Gothicon. That's a Scooby-Doo.
Shara Gothicon bought tickets to our show.
Is that? Yeah, that's the Scooby-Doo
It's
one.
right over there, see? Sign its autograph.
I see a door.
That's what it wants you to see.
Okay.
Just like the many doors in the Winchester
yeah.
Mansion.
2,000? 1,000? 5,000.
Like, I have to ask this just in the carpenter industry. When it gets to be about 2,000 doors, do you
you
guys
get
just
bored?
have like a guy that's like the door guy? Like, hey, it's the door guy.
Yes. So it's weird in construction itself. You have like a relationship with everybody you work with.
Mm-hmm.
So like we had the plumbing guys, we had the electrical guys, we had the garage door guys.
'Cause that's a whole different company.
They're great.
Because they're different companies, and you subcontract them out. So like you could be like up on the roof, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you see your electrical guys pull up in the van,
Hey, it's the electrical
Yeah.
guy.
Hey, Timmy.
and then you start harassing them about how they're always taking lunch breaks and stuff like that.
That
As
sounds
you're
like an
sitting on the
electrician.
roof eating a sandwich.
Hey, you guys should be working. Hey,
So-
you
So
should be
yes,
working.
in other words, you would personally and probably intimately know the door guy.
So you just be like, lady, I got a guy.
Why would you intimately know the door guy?
Because when you're putting in a door, it is a very intimate experience.
Okay.
You're shoved in a tight little space together.
Yes.
I know, I
Yes.
put doors in.
Okay.
Especially when the door,
wow.
people on the podcast can't see it, but when the door does an S shape, and you're the guy that has to put the S shape into a straight shape. So you have two guys like holding it straight with another guy with a nail gun. It's just like, okay, Jimmy, don't shoot me.
Don't shoot.
Yeah, so as far as notes and research, I've pretty much covered. Well, we have
You've
all pretty
covered
much
the story,
covered
basically.
the story of
You
it
covered a good. You covered enough.
to get people interested.
Yeah, and then if they want to be more interested, you can check out several references. Like I referenced the Ghost Adventures episode. That'll give you a much better visual experience of the place.
Yes, and
As-
it's one of those things, I guess, to go off the list basically of culture that this has showed up in. It's like I said earlier, inspiration for the Haunted Mansion at the Disney parks.
Yep.
The manor has been featured in topics and shows such as Mythbusters, Most Haunted, and Ghost Adventures. as well as other popular shows, and
Books.
one of the founding gods of the podcast world, Lore, has done a topic on it.
As well as one of the biggest production companies for podcasting on Spotify, at least, Parcast. Their podcast of haunted places did a very good. They do more of like a dramatization of it. They did a really good episode.
And
on
this one, for anyone interested, is called Locked Away.
I believe the one for haunted places is just called Winchester Mansion.
Probably. Now, with that aside, this just got me thinking of this. Boom.
Yes.
You having been a professional carpenter.
Yes.
Oh, we're back to this.
You know, I just want to know, in your personal opinion, going into a place like this, like, how eye-twitching bad would this place make you go?
Well, okay.
Because I'm not a carpenter, and I feel like I would go half insane with stuff, because to me, rooms have to be symmetrical, or at least ornate and have some
well, that's
function.
one thing. I will say, looking through many of the pictures of the place, it's not
It doesn't.
that bad. I mean, like,
I
there's
think
some things that just don't make sense, right?
I think it bother an architect more than a carpenter.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Because it's
Honestly,
all kind
a-
of built solid, but it's just funky.
Honestly, a carpenter would look at this place and just be like, huh, I wonder why they did that. Huh, I wonder why they did that. Huh, I wouldn't put that there, but okay.
Why is there a cupboard with only like an inch deep cupboard?
Would it be one of
Yes.
those things where it's like somebody like, I want you to make a replica of this place. Challenge accepted.
Now, on a personal note, just the front of the building, literally, I hate to say the word, but it triggers me.
It does. It does.
Because
I know what you mean. There's just some of those things that's like, it just looks so off that's like,
I am one of those carpenters, or I was one of those carpenters, where
Kind of still is.
it has to be symmetrical.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
Like, if it's not symmetrical, there has to be a good reason for it not to be. And with this house, there's no real reason besides for running away from ghosts.
yeah.
Right. And there's a door on the outside of the building that goes nowhere. That's like,
Yes.
what, the second story, third
Yes.
story up?
It's just
Third story, there's a door that you can open. Well, you can't now, but you could open and just fall to your death.
just like every fire escape door.
Yes. There was a door that you could open that would literally make you fall through a sunroof into the kitchen.
Yes.
Jeez. One thing, I didn't see it in anything that I researched, but I have seen it in things in the past, like on haunted shows and stuff. The Winchester Mansion also has secret corridors and stuff in it as well.
Yes, there was
Yes.
many secret routes that Miss Winchester would use to travel through the house faster.
Yeah.
One, to run away from the ghosts, because she'd always have these visions. Usually it was right before she fell asleep of the ghost coming up to find her. So she would use the secret routes to go find a safer bedroom, because she never slept in the same bedroom.
Never
She
did.
had her favorites, but she'd never sleep in the same bedroom for more than, I think, like a day or two.
You know,
Right.
again, if I had like a castle or something, I would totally do that. Like, I feel like sleeping in the green room today.
Well, that's what she had, like a blue room. She had a green room. She had like all types of places. Like, it's a marvel of, honestly, as a contractor, it's a marvel of how this place was put together, because like it's haphazardly built. There's no floor plan.
Yeah.
It's, okay, Miss Winchester, what do you want us to build today? I want you to build a library tower. Okay, we'll figure where to put it. We're not sure where, but we'll put it somewhere.
Right.
Take out the 15th bathroom and put it there.
That this house had lasted, even though through an earthquake, the big earthquake.
Yeah.
This house, even though it lost a few stories, is still standing, and it's still standing to this day. Even with the, randomly put a room here, randomly put a bathroom here,
Yep.
randomly doing this, it's still standing. So the carpentry into it is very nice. It's just, an architect go through there, they probably might go nuts.
Yeah, and I mean, with that too, not to sound morbid, but as we are seeing more and more nowadays where a slight flaw in modern architecture can result in disastrous things, this is pretty good craftsmanship.
Very good.
Honestly, it's not even so much the flaw in architecture. It's nowadays the flaw in manufacturing.
Yes.
True.
Where back then there was a lot of pride in the
Back then,
handiwork.
so I did a lot of remodeling,
Mm-hmm.
and there was 2 versions of a 2x4. There was modern day 2x4, which is actually 1.5 by 3/4 of an, or sorry, it was 3.5 inches by 1.5 inches, right? Because they would sand it down to be a 2x4, but really it was actually
This is a fancy looking board.
a fancy looking board. So, but back in those days, they would cut down the tree and make a 2x4, which would actually usually come out to 4.5 inches by 2.5 inches and be solid oak, which
Yeah.
means if you try taking a nail out of it, you would have to rip out a chunk of
You
the
get a
board.
new 2x4.
You get a new 2x4.
Or you just hammer the nail all the way back in and just leave it be and start going somewhere else.
You
Yeah.
can't even nail into it. I've had it. There was one wall I was working on that had a proper 2x4. I took I don't know, people that are listening to this that know tools. I took a DeWalt Sawzall that was the XL version, and I had a fully powered blade on it. I had a brand new Diablo blade on it. So Diablo blade are like some of the best for demolition.
Mhm.
I couldn't cut through it. Anyways, I could not cut through that. And there was also a nail in that board. I tried taking the nail out. I couldn't do it. I tried pounding the nail back in. It wouldn't go back in. That was a piece of rock.
That's when you take an angle grinder to it and you just remove the nail.
Half the time, but here's the thing. The nails were solid iron back then.
You
Oh,
take-
so was it actually the old spikes?
Yes.
Okay, that's why. Because see, they drive those in like
You know those
in-
old-fashioned square nails?
Yeah.
That was one of those.
yeah, because they drive those in when those are green, and then the wood would like as it dried, it sealed
Yes.
around it. I personally would love to build a house with that, just so it's like this thing will outlast me.
Don't build the house. Just go to the Winchester Mansion.
I'm going to say it.
That could be.
What?
Mhm.
I love the way the Winchester Mansion looks.
It looks really cool.
It does. It does.
There's
I live in
nothing
it.
wrong with it.
What? No, there's lots of wrong with it.
No,
No, it's perfect.
Architecture marvel aside, what do you guys think as far as ghosts? I feel like even though it's considered one of the most haunted places, it seems a little lackluster. Like, not saying there isn't ghosts there,
Yeah.
but most haunted,
Most haunted houses have more sightings
I-
of different
I'm gonna-
things.
I'm going to say, because I didn't have much time this week to do a lot of research, so I just ended watching 2 documentaries, kind of older. And in one of them, it actually had a elderly lady that said she was actually a young girl around the time when Mrs. Winchester lived, and actually kind of knew her and hung around the house.
Yeah.
And she actually said that she didn't believe Mrs. Winchester was anything spirit related.
Yeah.
That she's just liked building the house like it is.
Yeah. A lot of people do believe that she just kind of picked this up as a hobby.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have basically a nation's income
A day.
per day
and your spouse is gone.
and your spouse is gone, your baby died. So, I mean, there's a lot of traumatic problems with that.
It
Like,
very well could have been creative outlet.
maybe she just wanted noise around her constantly.
Yeah.
That too.
I mean,
So I think if it's haunted, it's been haunted in recent times.
now I will say there is one thing to having survivor's guilt. There's
Mhm.
also another thing to knowing that your husband in relation you basically caused the mass death of hundreds of thousands of people, because as soon as the Winchester rifles were starting to be made, death in wars went up basically 100%.
Yeah.
Like, wars no longer became standing in a line really and just like firing at each other. Like, wars were
How fast can I pull the trigger?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the Winchester rifle, if I'm not mistaken, was
think
one
it's
thing that
the-
helped us like take over most of America.
Well, yeah.
Kind of. It was
it-
the 30-30 lever action rifles.
Yeah.
It was produced during the Wild West time. It kind of ended the Wild West.
Yeah.
Led to the end of it, I should say.
Yeah.
So
Right.
like, there's that whole guilt of knowing that
You just ended an era, basically.
not
Yeah.
only you ended an era, but you brought a marvel of technology into this world that is so deadly beyond anything that you guys have really had before.
It'd kind of
Yeah.
be like Oppenheimer with the nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, for them, it's like, yeah, you could make this thing that would be a great tool basically to have on a ranch or a farm that you can protect livestock, you can hunt with.
Yeah, could you imagine
But
being
now
able to
it's-
take out a pack of wolves that are trying to eat your cow?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
But now it's also being used by bandits
Yeah.
and outlaws
and
and
I don't
stuff.
know what the Winchester company was really originally made for. Maybe it was a defense research contract that was meant for war, or
Yeah.
maybe they just wanted to make a new gun that was better, more accurate.
That's what a lot of
so-
people do. They're like, how can I make this better?
Right.
I don't know if it was Winchester or Remington, but I believe it actually started more as a smith business.
I know Remington is one of the biggest companies for military aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but I
the-
think they started out as a smith.
Yeah,
They
they
could've
didn't
been.
start. They got a government contract to make guns, but they didn't start out as a gun
Right.
manufacturer. They started out as something to do with like smithing metal or
Yeah.
fabrication.
I will say this as far as ghosts go. There seems to be enough just common pooling of like the Clyde thing that maybe he was so dedicated to the place.
I want
They
Clyde to be
never-
real.
I do
I'd
too.
love it if
I'd
Clyde
love
was
it.
weird.
I want to hang
Yeah.
out with Clyde. I want to hang out with Bigfoot all at once. We'll
You-
take Bigfoot to the Winchester Mansion just to hang out with Clyde.
Speaking of Bigfoot, it is nice to actually talk about one topic where somebody's not trying to freaking shoot something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
this lady's husband did create the one weapon that lets you shoot at
And
things.
it
but...
was used to shoot Bigfoot.
Oh, wait a second. When was the first sighting of Bigfoot again? I forget.
Oh, the first
Well, there
sighting?
was the guy that was irritated about getting kidnapped by Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But we're talking about ghosts right now, so. But I
It'd
think
be Ape
some of
Canyon.
these, like people have reported shadows. Now, whether again, as we've talked before about shadow people, whether it would be spirits or something like that, since there's already an air of kind of malice lingering
Mhm.
about the place. And topics like that, they've been attracted to it.
Right.
Yeah.
It might be that the house, originally started, she wanted a project to work on. And that as people continued to build on this house, then started rumors about the spirits and everything that they as spirits were maybe, or shadows or things were drawn to it because they kept on
Yeah.
talking about
Or
that.
manifested by the stories.
Manifested, yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, there is a legend. I don't know what religion it's from or what part of the world it's from, but
Oh.
if you talk about something enough and you start writing about it, or if you start making stories about it, it will manifest in the world.
Right.
So-
Right.
Which kind of goes on kind of the basis of creation.
I think
really.
it's somewhere in Africa, India, or the Middle East.
I want to say India, but I don't want to be wrong.
Somewhere,
That's why
I'm
I said-
always wrong, but I don't want to be wrong
somewhere's
here.
across big water on big land.
Yeah, it's definitely not here in the Native American continent.
Oh, dang. 1924 was the first sighting of Bigfoot. One of the first sightings.
Yeah, I think that was the guy that got kidnapped.
No, that was the miners fighting the Bigfoot.
Ape
oh,
Canyon.
okay, Ape Canyon.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm kind of, like I said, up in the air about the ghost thing. I mean, there have been a lot of people that have reported having their shirt tugged on or something. But as we know, the imagination can be a very tricky thing. So it's you're going into a place knowing its reputation.
Yeah. I will say Clyde has to calm down because not only does he tug on shirts, he's also tugging on skirts. I'm like, okay, you don't need to be pantsing people, Clyde.
But it's funny. They can't see you. They just, all of a sudden, you're pantsed.
Just sounds like an anime thing.
And then he just runs away, just.
Him in his wheelbarrow.
Steals your pants and takes off. I've been needing a new
You just
pair.
see a pile of pants and skirts just
In a
sitting in,
hidden
floating
room.
in this.
That sounds like it's straight out of a Ghostbusters or just.
I was thinking the old Scooby Doo episode of the flying Confederate shirt.
Yeah. What a. Yeah.
That's actually
Yes.
about a haunted mansion.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an old two brothers.
We're fighting. One was for the north, one was with the south.
That wasn't original Scooby Doo. That was What's New Scooby Doo.
Or sorry, I was thinking of the old original one where they're in the haunted mansion. They have to stay there overnight because Scooby Doo saved this old Confederate general from a bog.
Yeah.
How can I like? What?
Remember-
Scooby-Doo is my favorite cartoon.
Okay, yeah.
I just
Cool.
had to say
Yes.
that.
So, I
Yes.
mean, you guys have anything else on this? Because I think I've pretty much depleted my resource of.
I think we've
stuff.
said everything about it.
Yeah.
I
We were
would-
kind of rambling for a minute, but let's go around really quick. So, Wolf, what are your final thoughts on it?
I think it was just a lady that wanted a hobby and decided, I have all this money. I'm going to build the most bizarre mansion I can.
So, like an art piece.
An art piece. And then throughout the times, workers didn't like her, got fired or whatnot. So this legend began of like, just like, that lady's crazy. She's doing like occult ghost stuff. And like it's haunted and stuff. And then fast forward to now, after she's been dead for a long time, it might be haunted now or not.
That could be.
Kai, what do you think?
I think she did want something to do, but with she did go to the mediums and that sort of stuff. I'm thinking maybe part of the mediums thinking they were going to get something out of this. Instead, she's like, "Well, I'll spend time in my house. I'll build my house."
Yeah.
And maybe part of it might have been her scared, her being scared of the spirits being killed by the guns, or her survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
Just thinking that this would help, and I do believe a lot of those, like the stories that were told and what Wolf said, that maybe made it more come to life than it
Oh, yeah.
actually is.
That brings up a good point because that was kind of this during the time of the start of like the spiritualist movement,
Yeah, it really was.
and a lot of mediums were scam artists. And if they knew that
Almost
you were
all of
rich,
them.
they would convince you that you were gonna die in 24 hours. They
Unless
bet you
if
can get
you-
a couple bucks.
Yeah.
And you never know. One of them maybe had told her that
Yeah.
during that too, and she's like, "Well, if they're coming for me, I'm going to build myself a fortress."
That your bill, ma'am.
You okay?
What do you think, Ramcat?
I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air about it. I kind of feel like a lot of the supposed sightings, because there's only really 2 unique sightings to this
And
whole
they're
place.
newer.
And they're newer, where the others are just kind of generic. Yeah, this happened to me. Well, you also were kind of expecting it, so you probably, imagination. Now, as far
Right.
as the apparition from the sealed room, or like I said, Clyde, those I think could be potentially true. I mean, it would make sense more. It's the 2 people that
Yeah.
lived there
Right.
consistently, so it very well could be that, or like manifestation.
Yeah.
Could be one of those curious cases too of, if anyone's ever heard of ley lines, which are just basically where things are attracted to.
That's a whole nother
That's a
topic.
whole
That's a
nother
whole
topic.
nother topic.
But it's you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bazillion things. It could also just be the place is so screwy it messes with your head.
Right. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, with the way it's laid out and you go in, you get confused. Yeah, it could really screw with your
Brain.
mind.
I believe there's actually like a staircase that's like 7 different staircases, and it only goes up like, I think they said a foot,
Yeah.
but there's 7 sections that you have to walk through, and it just switches back, and you just
Yeah.
go
and
up a foot.
Having never been there could be places that are just so unnatural that it does just make your brain like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
You
More
open up a
likely.
door and like, oh, I could have broken a leg. by-
One little detail I didn't miss in this that I forgot to
You
mention.
didn't miss?
No, that I did miss.
Okay.
This, for its time, was also a very state-of-the-art house.
Yes. It had
Yeah.
multiple elevators. It had
It had-
heating,
Yeah.
cooling.
Also, a rudimentary intercom system.
Yes.
And like with the elevator, I don't remember the details of it or the names of
Had
it.
one of the first electric and I believe hydraulic. It was either electric or it was hydraulic.
It was electric and a double gear system.
Yes.
I don't think it was
she could-
hydraulic.
She could.
There was a hydraulic elevator.
There
in it.
was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But this was an electric one, I believe, and it was also, I think it was. Apologies if I'm wrong. It was like a double gear system, and it was one that Sarah designed herself
Yes.
to have made. So it's like that kind of lends into a thing too of she was very creative and inventive in things.
Yep.
Do you know if the elevators, if it was one of the old style elevators where it was constantly going, or if it was you called it and then it took you to where you wanted to go.
You called it and took it where you wanted to go. Also, if things malfunction, there was a turn crank system in it.
Okay.
So like this thing, I'm assuming in the description, it's like a wall of gears basically on both sides.
Because I know the original elevators was literally just a platform you'd step on, and it's constantly going up in a loop, never stopping.
That's
you
just dangerous.
There's only one left that's working.
Well,
But yeah, it was
right
extremely
now.
right now. But it was a very dangerous elevator.
Yeah.
What do you
Sounds like
think? Boom.
I think it was a very depressed woman that probably thought in her head that she was being chased by ghosts, and probably had mad mental aberrations of ghosts.
Could have been.
Could have been.
Was
yeah.
so distraught that her husband had left her that she thought she was hearing her husband, and she was getting $27,000 a day and wanted to build a house. I think it's as simple as that, because you look at the history of it and it's just
It's
yeah.
not really fantastic per se. Like there's nothing.
Well, and that's one thing that would lead to making it more believable. It's not fantastic.
Right.
But
No, I mean there's no it's not the point
Yeah.
of trauma basically. Because
it's not the point of trauma, it's the cause of trauma. And that's kind of what I was saying. I feel like this is an outlet for a very traumatized woman in the turn of a century with a buttload of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all know from our modern day billionaires, apparently when you're bored, you build rockets and go into space.
And do crazy stuff.
And do
You know
crazy
what?
stuff.
I think we need to do a personal experiment
You
and all
laugh.
be given billions of dollars to personally experiment on this theory.
You literally one of our billionaires literally just lands and with a cowboy hat laughs like Lex Luthor and then just says, "Yeah, you all built this." And it's just like, "Oh, why?"
Where's Superman?
Superman, help.
Hey, they got the money, but I don't know if they should be building rockets into space.
Yeah, maybe not.
I was like today at work. I could do it, but I never asked myself, should I?
But I could.
No, I did.
Anyways,
Good.
Yeah.
I think that's about it.
I think that very well could be. It is kind of that thing of like the artists pour emotion into the canvas or paper,
Yep.
and this very well could have just been maybe the lady always had a fascination for architecture.
could have.
I mean, she
could've.
invented an elevator for herself.
Yeah. How bored do you have to be to invent an elevator?
That was the
Not
beauty
too
of
bored.
that era. People, rather than waste time, made things.
That's true.
That is
Like,
true.
I don't have this thing, this particular tool. I'm going to invent it.
Well, when you have a staircase that literally only goes up a foot and it takes 7 flights of stairs and there's 7 stories, I don't think it's that hard to come up with an elevator.
Because it's just like you build it like, well, I need to get up there somehow.
You know,
Right.
I built this staircase, but it's so inconvenient. I'm just going to build an elevator.
I just feel like maybe
I just
going
need the
through,
elevator. I can block off the rest of the stairs.
Pretty much.
or somebody's just like, all right, I'm going to hire lots of construction workers. No experience needed. Who put this wall here?
Kick it's out. It's no longer there. Put in an elevator.
But yeah, I mean, it could be any number of things, but yeah, I'm kind of in favor of that with the boom because, like I said, most hauntings are pretty traumatic at the point of
Yeah.
where it happened, and
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
this was all over the place.
All over the place.
I
and
mean,
they,
there is some for saying that the theory is that Winchester is all around the U.S., so technically she's being chased around the U.S.
That could be too.
It could
I
be.
mean, everywhere she goes, somebody was killed with a rifle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe not back in those days. Now I think about it, because there was a lot of just nothing. But
Yeah, that the like 1800s were actually very boring.
yeah,
The
Mhm.
legends of outlaws and stuff are very actually sparse. Conflicts weren't that big of a thing.
usually it'd be like, "Hey guys, there's some bandits wandering on that road. Let's take this road instead."
Yeah, or it was like, oh, okay, we'll let the government handle that.
Yeah, we had a lot of board marshals back then.
We did. And that just kind of bled over into modern, basically building the modern law system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have a lot of bored FBI agents.
We're
Really
too
bored.
busy.
Yeah, they're
I'm too busy.
Or they think they're too busy.
But yeah, it could be anything. It's on my list of places I do want to go someday.
Yeah, I'd love to see
Yeah.
If
it.
I can ever
I would love
make the
to, too.
time. Like, it got added onto the list, like, as one of the priorities. So.
cool.
But yeah, I think that's about it.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yep.
And this is where I hand it off to Boom for all the techno babble.
'Cause you're still not willing just to say the simple
I
words.
almost wrote everything down to be able to do it, and I forgot to
That's
ask you.
alright.
You just remember, tell them where you can find us, and then just sign off.
Where can they find us, Wolf?
They can find us on any podcasting app, basically.
Sure. Yeah.
Gotcha
You know
there.
what? If you like listening to this, you can leave a review on iTunes or Podchaser or anywhere else that you can review us, as well as you can leave a comment on YouTube because we do that now.
Yay.
Don't forget to hit like while you're there and also subscribe and hit that notification bell, please.
Or we will send Pickle Wolf at you
Right.
after.
Because you always want
pickles.
to stay up to date for the new untitled, or I mean the podcast behind the podcast episode.
It's
So
truly untitled.
I don't know what we're gonna call it. I feel like we should just title it different each time.
I like that idea.
Sounds like fun.
Anyways, yeah, after you give us a review, you can find where else you want to listen to us, because you want to listen to us on every single platform. Just like how the Miss Winchester would sleep in a different bedroom each day. You want to like listen to us on a different platform each day.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Oh
so-
my god.
Not that we have enough content to listen
And
every
we,
day.
No, we have over 7 episodes. So if you want to listen to an episode a day, you just pick a different platform each day. Anyways, you can find where to listen to us at anchor.fm/look behind you. As well as if you want to stay up to date on the podcast, you can go to Twitter and follow us at Behind You Pod. And there we'll try to keep you updated with episodes and what we're doing and stuff like that. It's been a little bit sparse lately because I've been busy doing lots of other stuff. So
We've all been busy.
that's fun.
Too busy.
Very busy.
And yeah, besides for that, I have been Sir Boom. You can find me personally at SirBoom9 on Twitter, as well as you can find me on another podcast called Baka Talk. There I talk with some of my other friends about anime, manga, and just kind of general news about that. You can check us out doing a playthrough of the Steins Gate visual novel for any weebs out there that would probably know what that means. That is on YouTube at Baka Talk Studios, as well as you can just find the general podcast if you just Google Baka Talk. Wolf, where can they find you?
On our Twitter.
All right, cool. Ramen Cat, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at RamenCat13. I pretty much just post D&D stuff and a little bit of history stuff and paranormal stuff.
Awesome.
I haven't
Follow him over me because it sounds like he's more active than me. So.
Not really. I haven't been
More active than I am.
I haven't been active for a few days.
That does have to say something. I have to say something really quick. Wolf,
Yeah.
the only social media you have is the podcast social media.
Yep.
Why don't you just post stuff?
Because I don't have anything to post.
Ah.
Scour the internet, sniff it out.
I was trying to just put all the social media on him, but I guess that's not going to work. So,
So,
don't you want to make friends with like podcast Hootenanny and stuff? Or pop culture? Oh wow, I almost missaid their name.
You
Pop
did
Culture
missay
Hootenanny?
their name.
There's probably a podcast hootenanny. You know what? Give a shout out to both.
Sure.
Wait.
I don't know who podcast Hootenanny is, but I really like pop culture.
We'll find
Hootenanny,
out.
So
Yes. And what about you, Kai Kai? Can they find you anywhere in the mysterious, vast ether that is Earth?
Nope.
Oh.
you sure you don't want to make a Twitter?
I'll do it right now.
I wouldn't suggest it.
Don't make a Twitter.
No, I'm
Kai Kai is incognito.
Kai Kai's incognito. Okay. So spoken from the kitsune.
Yeah. I like
Hi,
talking
hi.
to a couple people on Twitter, but if it wasn't for the fact that I'm a podcaster, I probably would not have a Twitter account.
That's probably why I don't do a lot on Twitter.
Yeah.
I just get on like, oh boy, what fun things today? Do.
Yeah, it seems like what it is lately. There's a lot of fun people on there.
I'm
but-
more or less when I'm on Twitter, I just read. I don't post a lot.
I mean, on Discord, you're literally called the Watcher,
Yeah, I named myself that
Yeah,
because I
so-
just watch.
Yeah, with all of our probably 12 friends, here's Wolf sitting on a cliff overlooking all of us and like, dance, my minions.
Good.
Well, I think that ends this podcast for today.
I think so. Hope everyone enjoyed it. I did. I actually had a lot of fun researching this one.
Yeah.
I had fun too.
I didn't really research this one. I just did it all from
Documentaries.
memory.
For this one, when I was like, I'm going to write it in a notebook, everything I learned in school about taking notes for research stuff was just like puked onto the page.
I will say the documentaries I watched were really good.
Yeah. There's a lot of good documents about this
I
stuff.
might actually post those on Twitter.
Yeah.
In the next couple
post
days.
the links
Do
and
that.
stuff for the info.
I want to say
As
I
your
will.
boss, I'm telling you to do that, actually.
Fine. I will.
As your boss. And...
I'll post it when this goes live.
Cool, on Monday. Not this Monday. Sorry, next Monday. They don't know we're recording this. Shoot. Podcasting time is an enigma.
Abort! You're gaining too much information.
All right, we're rambling, so...
Yeah.
All right, Ramacat, send us out.
All right. I hope everyone has a good night, good morning, good evening, and everything in between. This has been Look Behind You. And my terrible outro. Have a good night, everybody.
Don't forget to look behind you.
Because you never know what you see. See y'all later.
Bye.